Thanks for your company here on Lunchtime Agenda. I'm joined now by Liberal MP Peter Hendy and Labor MP Michael Danby. Thank you both for your time. The car industry is the story of the day for us, and I'll start with you, Peter Hendy. Should this decision have gone through the party room, or at the very least cabinet? It only went through ERC.
Well, I'm not familiar with the actual processes that occurred. I'm not unhappy with the decision. I think that I'm a former CEO of the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I appreciate the need to put in certainty with respect to industry transition. This is principally about the automotive parts sector, the component sector, and I think it's a sensible, pragmatic decision that the leadership team have put in place, and so I'm quite relaxed about them doing that and announcing it today.
And so you're not fussed that it wasn't discussed in the party room first?
Well, it was an issue. It's one of those issues where, like for myself, I've been saying to the leadership group whenever they've asked for my opinion that we should stop hitting our head up against a brick wall when it comes to Senate opposition to things. At some stage you've got to take a pragmatic decision and just proceed with alternative policies. This is another piece of policy that we put forward in the budget that just couldn't get through the Senate. The crossbenchers, Labor, the Greens opposed it. I think they've made a sensible decision to just proceed. It's a good decision in terms of certainty up to 2017 until the closure of the industry producers, the manufacturers in terms of Holden, Ford, Toyota.
Michael Danby, however much money ends up going back into the industry, it won't be $900 million, perhaps somewhere between $100 million according to one source. The Minister says several $100 million. Is that going to be enough, do you think, to save jobs in the components industry up until 2017?
Well, I hope it will. As Peter said, this is about the auto components industry. Having destroyed two of the big manufacturers, you know, we've got the dollar down, we've got our resource prices down, our terms of trade is turning around. We need to export something. I mean, we're not going to be exporting cars to Kuwait and Iraq like we should have been, but the auto components industry may survive if this transitional arrangements are put through, and we ought not to at least destroy them. So, you know, thank goodness for small mercies, as they say.
This comes off the back of the reversal, Peter Hendy, on the GP co-payment, paid parental leave scheme, defence pay decision. Now this, are voters entitled to be confused about what the government actually stands for now?
Well, indeed. I think what we've got here is that we've got a clear example of the government listening to the public. I think that what we had through the course of last year and into early this year was that a concern in the community that the government wasn't listening to what they were regarding as priorities and in terms of how they wanted to be consulted by the government. And I think that we've had a reset that is actually very, very good. In fact, I was one of the ones internally. I'm not one of the ones who goes out and talks to the media before I talk to the Prime Minister and the Treasurer and whatever. Privately, I've said to them that they needed to listen more to what the community was saying, because we've got to take the community with us. I think we're now getting there. For example, on the co-payment, I had a very, very constructive meeting down in Moruya, part of my electorate this week, with local GPs, and we were talking about what we can do to sustain Medicare into the future. They had some very constructive ideas, and they're being fed back now to the leadership team of the government.
Well, we are running short on time. It's getting away from us. I want to look at the discussion on superannuation that was raised by Joe Hockey over the weekend, suggesting that it be made more flexible, perhaps use it to buy your own home. Now, this comment has been slammed by Paul Keating today. Michael Danby, what's your view on this position? There are a lot of voters that would like to have access to their super. Is it a good idea?
That's something that bears more examination, but I side on the side of caution with former Prime Minister Keating, that very dubious about sort of taking major gobs out of people's superannuation. I think that the government should be looking at restoring the low income superannuation benefit, though, because we want people saving for in the future, and we should take it from 9% to 12%. So we can't be talking about the ageing population, the intergenerational report of the effect of our population being more dependent on age pensions when we don't actually address the issue of superannuation both at the lower level and overall by raising the level of amount of savings that Australians have. That's the real issue as far as I'm
Peter Hendy,
concerned.
it's not government policy. Should it be?
I think it should be looked at. I don't take my economic advice from Paul Keating. You wouldn't be surprised to hear that. It's been previous Liberal Party policy when we did Fight Back all those years ago, and I was one of the co-authors of that. We actually looked at providing access to super for first home buyers under the age of 35. I think it was a legitimate policy to put forward at the time. Very distinguished superannuation experts like Darryl Dixon have in the last year or so been putting forward proposals like this. I think they're definitely worth a debate in the public.
So worth a debate.
Yeah, well,
but you're not yet saying you would like to see it.
Well, I think
formal policy.
I think it is very, very much a policy we should be considering, and but what you need to do is you need to run a prudential ruler across it, so that you ensure that that no rorting would occur. I think it needs to be with respect to, and that's a clear part to which you need to run the ruler across, the prudential requirements.
Unfortunately, gentlemen, we're out of time. Peter Hendy, Michael Danby, thank you both very much for joining us. Thanks for your company at home. That's all.